Hi, I'm Neika Efei, and you are welcome to the Module 3 series of the EduSolve AI series. Now, as we saw earlier in my Module 1, I created the Django. In my Module 1, I created the Django web app, and then in Module 2, I created a local SQL database to store the student data and the submission data for the student. And so now in my Module 3, we are moving to cloud, and we are going to be taking our homework management system from my local machine to the Firebase Firestore, which is the Google Cloud database platform. So by the end of this video, we are going to be understanding how the Google Classroom and other real-world educational platform manages millions of their students and homework submission using similar technology. So first of all, I want to show you my architectural comparison. So here is my local database that I created for Module 2, where I was using the SQLite file, which is stored in my local machine. And compared to this Module 3, I'm using the Firebase Firestore, which is stored in the Google Cloud Server. And so one of the major difference between this is that for this one was for a single user, and whereas these are for multiple users. And so for also another at the comparison is that for the local database I created before, there was no backup, and that means that when my system crashes, everything is gone, just like what happened a couple of days ago when my system crashed. And so I had to I actually lost all of my data, and I was forced, if not that I have them already pushed a couple of weeks back to GitHub, I would not have been able to retrieve any of those data. So but unlike the Google Cloud, so what we have is that there is an auto backup that is enabled via the Google Server. And so another advantage of this cloud database management system is that it is accessible globally. So it means that you do not need my local machine to be able to access that. So that's that for the architectural comparison. So we'll now go straight to what I have in my Module 3 directory. So as you can see here, I have 3 files in my Module 3 directory. So I have the Firestore DB Python file, which actually contains the database code. As you can see here, it contains the database code. And then I have the main.py Python file, which contains the test script that will enable us to demonstrate how all of this logic works. And then I also have the service account JSON, which contains the credentials that enables us to be able to connect to Firestore. So that's for that. And so I'll come back here again. Now, if we look at here, I want to quickly scroll up to show you the class name. So up here we have the class name, which is the Firestore DB. And so this class name that we have here also actually is our connection to the Firebase. So it is the class of all, it has all of our database operation. So if we move down, we are going to be seeing the different methods that we have. I think here we have about 5 or 6 methods that enables us to be able to undergo all of the functions that we needed to test, from authentication to the create, update, read, and get operations, and also some statistical analysis, and also filtering by range. So let's quickly scroll down. So this is the first user authentication. So this is the first method. We have the define register user. And so this method helps us to register a new user into the Firebase server database. And so we are able to register user using the username, email, and password. Then we'll come down. Also, we're also able to now retrieve that user using this method, which is the get user by email method. And so this get user by email method helps us to be able to retrieve a user from the database. So here we are able to also authenticate the user, so they are able to sign in and get verified using their email and their password. So here is another method too that we also use to retrieve the user, like I said before, but this time we are retrieving the user by their ID. So we have a method here that enables us to add data to the database system. So here we can add the student information using their ID, the student name, the student email. All of these things can be collected and added to the database table. So we also are able to add submissions that are linked to each individual student. So for a student, we can add the homework of a particular student using these methods to add. So this actually demonstrates the create logic. Then we also, like I said before, we're able to get the students, get all students. So this particular method enables us to retrieve more than one student from the database. Then we have we are also able to retrieve student submissions or retrieve all of the submissions that we have there. So like we also said, we are also able to modify the data we have already entered earlier. So if there is need to modify any data, so this particular define update submission score method helps us to be able to do that. And then we're also able to modify the submission answer that we have entered before. And then if need be, this particular method, the delete submission method, helps us to be able to delete data that we no longer want to keep in our database. And then if we scroll down, we have the get class statistics method, which helps us to calculate statistics for all of the students in the class. So this demonstrates the class-based aggregation capacities. And when we run this code, it returns for us a list of the statistic dictionaries for each of the students. Then we are also able to filter our data using the get recent submission. So this helps us to filter data for the last 7 days. So I will now quickly go to the mime.py file to demonstrate how this logic runs. So this is the test screen that I did before when I was testing. So I'll just quickly Control C so I can run this again. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, it's loading. Okay, user authentication is running the first method. User already exists, teacher 2 already exists, admin 2. Okay, so here it's telling us that the teacher 2 already exists. So I will just quickly make some modification to that. So let's see, teacher 2, I think, okay. So here we can make a modification. Let me change it to teacher 3. And then let's also make modification for the admin. Let's change admin to admin 3. So so we are changing the email. We are changing the email so that a new user account can be created for this user. So let's try again. Now that we have made the modification to that, let's stop the system and then try again. Okay. Okay, now it's running. Okay, so we are back here again. Okay, let's see what we have. The terminal registering user. So yeah. Okay, so as we have seen, the first process has been run successfully. The user has been created, Ms. Sarah Johnson, teacher 3, what I just added just now, and then an admin has also been created. So here we've seen that the authentication process of registering user was successful. So new users were created, and also they were also verified to see that they are able to log in using their password. And as we can see, a specific ID was created for them, but their password has been kept secret from the user. So it means that their password has been kept secret, has been stored in the Firebase infrastructure without it being displayed, but the users are able to, it's been securely saved, and they have been assigned a unique ID. So these are the users that have been created. So here we look at the create operation. So 4 new students have been created. We have Alison Johnson, we have Bob Smith, we have Carol Davis, and Davis Wilson. Each of them with their new ID. And as you can see, the return message, it said total student added 4. And if you also look at the create operations here, we also see that 6 new submissions have been entered with the various questions for each of the students using their unique ID. And that demonstrates the create operations where we are able to create student and also create submissions. Now we also look at the read operations. So we're able to the read operations help us to retrieve data like I showed earlier, and here we're able to retrieve all of the students' information that we enter with their submissions and the dates these submissions were entered down. So if we scroll quickly down, we see students with submission for Alice. So this year, in this particular case, we're able to retrieve submission for a particular student. So, and so this was for Alison. So the total submission we had here was 2. What is photosynthesis and definement? So this was the total photosynthesis. So we also have all submissions with student info. So here is for submission for more than one student. So if we come down, we see another operation, which is the update operation, where we are able to modify the data we already have. So here, the script was to modify the score from 95 to 97. And you see that submission, it has been entered, score is now 97, and the verification returns that the new score is now 97. So the score has been updated, and as you can see, it's telling us that it has been updated. So this is the submission. And then we are also, like I said before, we're also able to delete information when we don't want it. So before, the number of submissions that we were having was 1. And so when the delete operation was initiated and completed, the system is now telling us that the submissions after deletion is 0. So we now saw that the number have decreased from 1 to 0, meaning that the submission have been successfully deleted and the count have been updated. So now this is the aggregate function that does the statistical analysis for us. And here we are able to look at the total number of students, the individual students rather, the total number of submissions that they entered, the grade that has been entered for them, and then the average score that they've all gotten, and then the best score. So here we are seeing that the best score here is 97, which was what we changed earlier. Initially it was 95 and it was changed to 97. But remember earlier when we did that update, I think it was somewhere. I think it was around here. Updates. Okay, here, when we updated the score for this particular student to 97, so it's now showing here that the best score now is 97. So it means that the update was successful. And so we also are able to retrieve the class statistics, like I said earlier. Here we are seeing that the total number of students, we have 36 total number of students that were captured. Then we have total number of submissions for them is 46, and then the total number of grades. So all of these are class statistics, and then we are also able to filter these statistics using the last 7 days. So that's that. So from our demonstration script, we were able to show that all the CRUD operations were demonstrated successfully, that students and submissions were successfully added to the cloud. We were able to retrieve data from the student submission relationship using the join-like operation. We were also able to update scores and answers were modified with their verification. So we were also able to delete, and as we saw that the submissions were removed after the delete operation was initiated. And then we got the statistics calculated for the student and the class, and then we were also able to get the recent submission that was retrieved by the data. So that's that for that, and we are grateful that we were able to join our channel today. So stay tuned for more videos. Do have a nice time.